Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to talk about this video from Tech Nick. Now this video has piqued my interest and not for the reason you think right now, but I'll get into that later. First of all, I want to talk about the new Snapdragon. Then I want to talk about, his biggest mistake. Honestly, this is by far his biggest mistake. Because he's spreading misinformation, which I'm so sick and tired of hearing right now. Also on the Rock 3 forums, or the Zentalk forums, I hear it all the time, and I'm starting to vomit over it every time I read the goddamn comments. So that has to be addressed. And then obviously the thing that actually triggers the most interesting thing for me, where I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the Snapdragon 865 first, and that is, as we can see here very quickly, this is a the chip we're running in our current phones. It has 5 watt TDP. Now, what does it mean? It means every time it consumes more than 5 watt, it will just throttle the speeds down to maintain the 5 watts. It's basically where it's designed to run at. Now, don't worry about this because it will never clock down the speeds. I don't think there's a single application on the phone that would actually draw enough power to make the phone, throttle in terms of clock speeds instead of actual thermal throttling. Most phones will more than likely start to thermal throttle way before they have this TDP issue in the first place. So there's that. And the 865 Plus, which you find in gaming phones and in Samsung's Note for some reason. It's basically just a more optimized version. It runs at 5 watt TDP as well. But due to the fact that it's being that it has been, more optimized, it just means that the GPU will run at higher clock speeds, maintaining the same on the same wattage when compared to the previous generation. So this is how you can see these 3.1 gigahertz stat while still having the same watt TDP. Now with the Snapdragon 888. The efficiency hasn't changed that much from 7 to 5 nanometer. I really haven't. I didn't expect so it's not out of the ordinary. But they did make something that actually is hugely game changing for the entire mobile gaming industry, and this will probably be the most nasty thing for Xiaomi gaming phone lovers, because I predict that will be the most nuts gaming phone. And that is, look at this. I scrolled it just to make it a little more interesting. It actually has a 10 watt TDP, which is stupid. It's honestly ridiculous. So, the reason why this tricked me off, because I actually looked at the battery consumption. I was like, yeah, it's probably going to be the same as usual. But then I saw the Xiaomi 11 actually drained roughly 20% more. And I'm like, wait a second, what? So I checked it out, and yeah, it has a higher TDP. Now, obviously, you don't hit the 10 watt TDP because the Xiaomi 11 has throttled it down. The chip allows to run at a 10 watt TDP, but the Xiaomi 11 does not allow it to run that because you cannot really cool it down as easily. So there's that. Now, the cool thing about this is that means phones with impressive, like really impressive cooling will, be performance monsters. Now, there are some gaming phones like the Rock 2 or Rock 3, Razer Phone 2 that have really impressive passive cooling. Okay, that's more Rock 3 at this point, because Rock 2 it's fine, but it's not great. The Rock 3 has actually nuts passive cooling. So that would not even be enough to dissipate 10 watt of heat inside of a phone. So how can we combat this? Well, the only way is to have actual active cooling. And yeah, I know some people will say, hey, but the Rock 3 has active cooling. And the answer is no, it does not. The cooler barely puts air out to begin with, and it doesn't even, blow into the hole because it's misaligned. And not only that, but even blowing inside, it will basically not do anything. You'll have maybe, I don't know, a couple degrees at best. So I don't count it as a real active cooled phone. That being said, a real active cooled phone does exist, and that is the Xiaomi Red Magic. And oh boy, does that cool. Now, back then it's more of a placebo, because yeah, it'll keep your temperatures impressively down, but it doesn't really give you an edge in performance, because, well, If you can passive cool it that it doesn't throttle, then active cool is not going to do better performance out of it. But with the Snapdragon 888 allowing up to 10 watt TDP, this is a game changer. That means that if your phone actually cools it down way better, you will have some serious performance. I predict, if everything is correct here, I would predict 30% more performance. So depending on phone, even though we have a Snapdragon 888, the performance can vary so much. It's actually insane. So let's talk about this misconception the YouTuber Tech Nick has done, and or rather spreading involuntarily lies, because it's the most common thing. It's face value. The thing is, I don't dislike him. Actually, I like him a lot. I like his comparisons, and he's a very face value type of person. He doesn't really know much about tech. He doesn't understand how cooling works. He doesn't know anything about any tech-savvy things in the phone, and that's absolutely fine. Nobody's expecting him to do so. That being said, it would be nice if if he could fix these misconceptions about the heat of the phone. So I'm gonna clear it out now. And every time do me a huge favor. I don't even want you to link my video if you don't have to. I'd be more than happy if you just explain it with my words and you can take credit for it for all I care. The only thing I care about is that that people stop spreading this nonsense, because on the ROG 3 forums, people have saying that the ROG 3 runs hot even though it does not. See, the way a phone cools down its hardware is by using the front screen as a heat dissipation device. Now, a lot of people take here, because this dude, Technic, he just takes a infrared thermal sensor and just yanks it on the screen and be like, yep, see, iPhone, coolest phone. And it's actually the opposite. So what we can gather from these information here is very simple. Yeah, the Mi 11 has by far the best cooling. 55 degrees on the front screen, which is basically your heatsink, because phones actually use their front screen mainly as a heat dissipation thing, because glass dissipates heat very well. And guess what? You have a lot of glass on the front because, yay, there's a touch screen. This is why it runs hot. Because it's hot to the touch, because the Mi 11 just needs to get rid of the heat very fast, because it runs at a higher TDP, which is also supported by the fact that the battery consumption is higher. And we don't talk about percentage, we talk about actual milliampere hours. So there we go. So what they did is they probably put in some really nasty vapor chamber inside this Mi 11, probably on par with the ROG 3, maybe even more impressive. I haven't seen it yet. We'll probably see with Jerry Rig everything. It's going to be a very impressive cooling solution, though, a passive one. So I'm looking forward to that, because I can't wait to see what kind of monstrosities behind that thing. And as we can see here with the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is known for being a throttling hot mess, runs the coolest. Well, guess why? Because it doesn't really transfer the heat very well from the hardware to the screen. So this is why you can actually see it's in reverse. It's not that the iPhone has the best thermals and the Mi has the worst. It's actually exactly the opposite. It's the Mi 11 has the best thermals in terms of hardware, and the iPhone 12 is basically thermal throttling its balls off. So there's that. So yeah. This has also been, by the way, a thing since the iPhone X. Thermal throttling has been an issue since then. Not a whole lot of people have noticed it. Now with Genshin Impact being a thing, being more mainstream, people have noticed it a lot. People are very dissatisfied with the performance of with any iPhone at this point, due to thermal throttling, etc. If you consider buying an iPhone, I strongly recommend a video I made. I don't know the title anymore, but I explain about the iPhones in general and what you have to look out for, and how Apple is kind of manipulating your opinion of the product by very clever marketing. So if you're into that, go for it. If not, well, you don't have to bother with it. Now, the last thing. That is the thing I'm actually most surprised about, because Technic should have instantly had to want to research it. Because even as a person who doesn't know much about tech, this doesn't make much sense. So I'm going to give you a couple seconds. Just look at this goddamn screen, right? And see if you notice something weird. I'm pretty sure a couple already be like, wait a second, what? And time's up. Yeah. The GPU score of the Snapdragon 865 is outrageously high. This is absolutely abnormal. This is actually what triggered my interest for the most part. Now, I do not know why this is happening, and I would like to know why. Now, there's two things that could have happened here, and I hope it's the latter. But the first thing is, as far as I am aware, Antutu either has some affiliation with Xiaomi or it's even owned by Xiaomi, so they could have done some trickery in that regard. Or number two, which I hope it is, Xiaomi has done some serious driver optimizations on their GPU. Now, it's not unthinkable that you would have these type of gains, because it has been mentioned a lot that the drivers that Qualcomm is yanking out they're terrible. They're still bad. They even though they're better, a lot better than Exynos or MediaTek or whatever the hell you're using, they're still a fucking disaster. This can be read on basically any Dolphin forums. There you will see developers complaining about it nonstop because it's actually that bad. So does this mean they have, got so much performance out of it by optimizing the drivers? That would be a huge thing. And this is why I don't expect Tech Nick to, ever find this video and help me with this. So if I find any person, maybe you're a viewer here with the Mi 10 Ultra, and you have rooted it, I'm not even sure if you can root it because I haven't looked into it yet. I know that you can't do it with the Huawei because of some bullshit. But if you can unlock the Mi 10 Ultra and you have access to it, I would love to work together with you and figure out why this is happening. Because if this is indeed some sort of driver optimization madness, then I would like to get it out, make a module out of it, like a Magus module, and I give every rooted person who has this type of hardware, and just enjoy the performance boost. That would be fantastic. So this is the main thing that I really found interesting. I just hope it's the latter, because goddamn it, who does not like free performance? Jesus Christ, the Rock 3. Woo! You have to think about it. The Snapdragon 865 is an underclocked version of the Plus version, so you would actually exceed 300,000 probably with maybe not exceed. Well, even with, if you tweak a little bit more here and there, maybe you could actually do that. That would be absolutely nuts. It's already almost on par with the 888. So having, what's it called? Having, the latest drivers causing it to perform that great would be fucking nuts. So yeah, I hope you learned something today. I hope you will stop spreading this "my phone is hot" misconception, because I'm sick and tired of reading it. And a good one.
And 11 points.
I'm playing the video. I'm stupid. I'm too stupid to end the video. Now I'm ending the video. Haha. Bye bye.